I just came outside to record the video. My second attempt. I tried yesterday, but it was too windy, and it seems like it's a bit of the same kind of thing today. Whoops, just snapped that flare off. Oh well, not to worry, plenty more buds. Hopefully the wind will calm down enough for me to get some footage to show you this week. This is an area that I've spoken about briefly in some videos, but haven't shown you or given you an update on it yet. So this is one of the new cut flower beds. It's full of different types of zinnias which are starting to flower, and then there's a number of these Salvia plants in different shades of pink. There's also a couple of Rebecca plants, but I think I'm just going to leave them here more for the prettiness rather than picking them to add into bouquets, because I'd spoken about this before with the Rebecca's. I find that they're not a very sturdy plant, in my opinion, to be putting into bunches of flowers, especially with the petals. They seem quite delicate. This garden bed is about 8 meters long by 3 meters wide. Now, I'm not using every part of it to grow cut flowers. Some contains shrubs. Here there's a couple in that spot which I was considering removing, but I haven't yet because I'm still a bit unsure about it, and they're quite mature. Once they're gone, they're gone, so I don't want to make any rush decisions on it. And you know, there's still lots of space in here to pop in heaps of plants. I think I calculated it the other day. I've got about 40 plants in total in this spot. It's been a very challenging area to garden in because there's so many weed seeds in this spot. There must be thousands, because I feel like I'm constantly out here weeding. Like, look over here, I only weeded, what was it, a couple of days ago, and they're all popping up again. It looks like there's some kind of clover, and then you've got grass, and then you got lots of these things which I'm not really sure what they are. I don't know, does anyone recognize it? Actually, if you come over here, I did see one that blended in well and I missed. I thought it was part of the zinnia plant. This is what they look like when they're a bit bigger. I should take a photo actually. I'll do that now, do a Google search and see if that comes up with any answers. Right, so Google is saying that it's a type of amaranthus, which, I mean, the top bit does look a bit like those type of plants, but even if it is in that family, I have a feeling that this is more considered a weed, and even if not, I don't particularly like the look of it, so I'll be pulling all of these out. Don't want them growing here. I prefer the amaranthus that have the prettier coloured tassels or flowers. This one's pretty boring looking. Give it a wiggle. Lucky it's been raining, so it should be pretty easy to remove. It's got a decent sized taproot, doesn't it? When I planted out this garden, a couple of the seedlings did die off, which I replaced, but there seems to be some spots that just don't seem to get anything growing in them, like here and over there. But I'm not too worried because I have put these plants or spaced them quite tightly together, and I was considering putting more seedlings in those two little areas, but maybe I should leave this free because I do need somewhere where I can stand when I'm cutting the flowers. And as you can see, in between the rows there's not much wriggle room at all to get in between the plants. When I was out here yesterday, I snapped this zinnia plant in half, which I was a bit annoyed with myself, but I think it happens when you're a gardener. You do have the occasional accident. Not to worry though, because with zinnias they do put out side shoots, so if anything this might encourage the plant to bush out more and I may actually get more stems from it. I noticed with this Salvia plants there's a huge difference in growth between one side versus the other. Like, so over here on the right hand side of the bed they have really bushed out, but then as you move along the front here you'll see the plants in this spot are still really small. It's weird, isn't it? Why do you reckon that's happening? I don't know. Maybe the soil's not as good here. That's the only thing I can really think of. Tiny, large, weird. Something I didn't consider about this spot is how exposed it is to the elements. When it gets windy, these plants are all over the place. So I'm thinking there's not much I can do about the wind and the exposure to the elements, but what I can do is help these plants to keep strong. So I'm going to stake them up, or maybe create some kind of corral system where I use stakes and twine just to help keep them elevated, because I really don't want to be growing these plants and getting stems that are all bent. Ideally, we want them nice and straight so they're easy to work with when I pop into the bouquets. Here comes the wind again. Right opposite that bed, I have this massive area full of salvias. My friend gave me some cuttings a few years back, which I popped in this spot, and they have just taken off. While I'm not sure of the exact variety name, I do know that they self-seed, and this is exactly what has happened here. There must be 50 plants in this spot, and they are loving this full sun location. I have in the past tried to use these blooms in my arrangements, but they tend to not last very long. The petals drop after a couple of days, but it's not all a loss because I can use the foliage. It smells absolutely beautiful. The only thing is I need to be really careful with which stems I select for the bouquets. I need to pick the ones which I've learned from trial and error, the ones that are a bit more mature, because if I pick any of the younger stems, they tend to droop and it's really hard to rehydrate them. It is so worth the effort though, because they smell amazing. Last week I purchased some indoor plants, and I mentioned that I'd show you where I popped them around the house in this week's video. So let's start off here in the lounge room with these Boston ferns. I placed one on either side of the TV, which I think really helps to frame this area. They're both in these decorative pots on the same wooden plant stand. Here's the other one on the other side, exact same setup. I tried to get them both to be a similar size. Sylvie from Tarmore Garden Centre helped me out with that, and I placed them beside these windows, which will give them some filtered light. That's the type of growing condition they like, and they also like to have continuously moist soil, which is something I need to work on, because I had a little feel of the other one and it wasn't super wet, feels a bit dry. I think I'll take these outside and give them a water. When I was reading up about indoor plants, a number of articles suggested that you can actually mix them up with some faux plants too, which is something I've done over here in this area. If you take a look at this little side table, I have this little planter that contains some fake succulents, but I think they look pretty good. I actually got this one from K-Hub, and at least I know that it won't die off on me. I'm hoping the same can be said for these two. Over in this corner is the golden palm, which is an area of the house that there wasn't really much going on. So I thought this is another good spot. Again, it's beside the window, so it's getting some nice filtered light coming in. So far so good. I mean, they've only been in here for a week, but it's looking pretty happy. The final of the 4 plants, which I bought last week, was this Thenanti. I hope I'm saying that right. Here's the tag. This spot gets a little bit more sun. Not sure if that's a good thing for the plant, because I'm still learning. I'm learning a lot about these indoor plants, but it looks happy too, like the others. I mean, it's only been a week, so it's a bit hard to tell, but I'm keeping a close eye on them. You may have noticed that the last 2 plants are in a similar pot. Remember last Friday I purchased 3 of these pots in various sizes, and this one here, I didn't have any plant to pop in it. I wanted to think about it for a while. Well, when I was dropping my flowers off at Tarmore Garden Centre yesterday, I saw in their display that they had this this plant here in the smaller pot. And oh, I just love the combination of it, so I purchased it. Here's the tag. It's placed here beside the barn door, and to the left here is another sliding door out into the deck. So again, it's getting lots of sunlight, and I think it helps to break up all of the grey walls. Adds a little bit of colour to this area. I just quickly grabbed all the plants because it began to rain. It stopped again, but I reckon there's a lot more on the way. It's so overcast and the wind is coming back again. I reckon I'll get a good drink today. And if nothing else, a bit of rain on the foliage. I guess it would help get rid of any dust or any little bits and pieces that fall on the leaves when they're inside the house. I quickly grabbed my camera on Wednesday because we had a huge storm here in Sydney. Apparently there was over 73,000 lightning strikes, and it was incredible. I actually really enjoyed it, but I do feel really sorry for any animals because I know it's absolutely terrifying to them. I quickly picked all of the zinnias that were flowering because I want to speed up the process, and hopefully this will encourage the buds to open up sooner that remain on the plant. The stems are way too short at the moment, but these will make a pretty little posy in the kitchen. Well, I'm over here by the container garden, and that's about it for this week, everyone. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you all again next Friday.